Well, I think it's about time I bit the bullet and got the potatoes planted. I know a lot of you traditionalists have had yours in 4 or 5 weeks, maybe even longer. But these days I tend to garden by the weather than the dates, and just lately, the last few weeks, it's gone really cold again. However, I can't put it off much longer. I've got my buckets scattered around the allotment. I'm going to be collecting them up. For the last 4 or 5 years, I tend to grow mine in buckets or containers, whatever you call them, 30 litre. I have done them directly in the ground, and I've had good success off both methods. The reason I grow in buckets now, I dislike harvesting potatoes out of the ground, digging them up. I've wrecked so many with the fork. I've tried all methods, going under shallow, everything, and I still seem to spare them. So, plus it's much easier to store them in the buckets. Towards the end of the year, I chop off the haulms, the foliage, cover them up if you've got a lot of wet weather, and I'll leave them in. And so I've harvested stuff out of here in like February, March, and still had decent crops. This year I'm probably growing 16, maybe 20 buckets. In the past I've done up to 30. And at 30 litres a time, it can be quite a lot of compost, 900 litres. However, after the first season, I recycle a lot of my compost. I still use the old stuff, but I had additives, I had horse manure, a bit of fresh compost, potato fertiliser and other things. So first of all, I'm going to go through the way I prepare the compost. So this is the spoils of last year's potato buckets. There's 2 in here. As you can see, the levels have dropped quite a lot. Just knock all the big lumps out. You ain't got to be too particular. Right, what I like to do now, during the year I collect horse manure in bags. This is well over 12 months old. So what I do now is add a decent layer of this into the bag. About half a bag in there. Put that in, you get to break up. Now for you peat-free fanatics out there, close your eyes, you ain't going to like this. I've got a bucket here, and this is Irish moss peat. And the reason I add this is because it retains water. Fantastic. And with potatoes in buckets, they do dry out quickly. So I've added that into there. Besides putting horse manure in, if I haven't got horse manure, I use a thing called 6X, which is like a soil-based horse manure which has been dried out. Very good as well. And finally, to top it up, this is fresh clover multi-purpose. I add that in as well. So far, I've only used probably a third of a bag. And as you can see, the size of the bunker I've got here. This, by the way, is a large, like industrial type bucket off a wheelbarrow. The axle's gone there and it's got 2 wheels on. I've got all the stuff to build it, but just I got round to use it. I use it more for mixing because it keeps stuff together contained. While that's like that now, I just add a decent helping of blood fish and bone. And all I've got to do is mix that up and we're ready to start planting. One other thing I do is when I come to put the tubers in, I do give a little sprinkling of this granular potato fertiliser just around the tubers, whether it's 1 or 2 levels I'm doing, and that's about it. Right, I'm going to mix this up, start planting. I'm not going to bore you with how to plant the 2 tubers with the handles and that. I've got that in my other videos that I've said before. So I'll just mix this and I'll show you what I've done when I come to plant the first one. So that's 8 buckets of Charlotte done. That's all I'm doing for my second earlies. I've not done our first earlies. I've topped the compost up more or less to the top of the bucket. I prefer to do this so it doesn't damage the haulms. If they're growing up and you put compost in, there's a risk you could snap the haulm, so I'll just top it right up and they grow through quite happily. There's left about 2 to 3 inches on the top, and that then allows you to water, create a decent reservoir for the water to sink right the way down into the pot. Saying that though, our mate upstairs looks like he's going to send us a few gallon down. It's gone a bit dark. However, I'm going to continue watering these on, and after that I've only got my main crop to do, and those are the Sarpalmira. Probably be doing another 8 buckets of those, exactly the same as this. I'll be just doing 1 layer with 2 tubers. One other thing I forgot to add on there, when I planted the potatoes, I always cover them with this like green debris netting, and the reason for that is because the soil has got bloodfish and bone in. It tends to attract the fox, and in the past I've had him actually dig in these and fetch all the soil out after what's in there, and rather than risk that again, I just cover this up, and once the foliage starts appearing above the soil, I'll take it off and then there's no issue. So that's another 8 buckets of potatoes done. These are the Sarpalmira, the main crop, and if you saw earlier, I've already done the Charlottes, which are the second earlies. I did say that I was only growing 2 varieties this year. Now that's not quite true. I was recently contacted by a guy I've met up with a few times at the garden shows, and he kindly offered me a few of the condor potatoes. If you're not sure what condor are, they're the variety that most people tend to grow who go in for the giant heavyweight potatoes. All I've been doing is planting 2 buckets of those. I'm not going for the heavyweight, but who knows for next year. Hello folks, and welcome back. If like me your plants are growing at quite a rapid rate now, it does create a little bit of problem if you're stuck for space. I've got a fair bit of stuff that needs potting on, so I need to generate a little bit of more room in here. The brassicas that I potted on, was it 2 or 3 episodes ago, they seem to have established themselves quite well, so I'm going to be moving those down into the greenhouse on the allotment. A little bit cooler in there, so hopefully that should slow them down a little bit, and then we can utilise this space for some other stuff. I'm going to take a look at the beans which you put to chit a while ago, if you remember. As you can see, they should have gone out quite a while ago. Not to worry, I'm going to get some root trainers ready, a bit of soil in, and we'll get them potted up. One of the beans is chitted, and as you can see, if you just look here, you can see the different stages as they develop, and they've gone from the little one after it's produced the long taproot, the leaves just popping out, and gradually increases in size. Not sure how well this will show up, but I've put the bean in. You can see the roots are resting on the soil, and the stalk and the leaf is pointing upwards. I'll just fill the rest of that cell up now to the top, and that'll happy carry on growing and pop its head through. And there we have them. I've just given a little watering in. You might notice them different root trainer cells again. I will be doing a separate video on these. Now we've got the runner beans sorted. I'm going to be looking at these little beauties, and I must say I'm very happy with these. These are the sweet peppers, and I've got another half as many again in this condition. These have been in the VITOPOD that I've got in the loft and been under grow lights, and as you can see, they've thrived on it. In fact, some of them have gone into bud and well belong before them flowering. What I'm going to put these in now at the moment, these are in 7 centimetre pots, and I'm going to put them into 1 litre pots. And hopefully they'll be in there for probably 6 weeks until I can get the stuff out these VITOPODs and break these down and get the actually the chili wicking system in the pepper wicking system that I built earlier. But the main thing is potting these up and finding somewhere to put them.